Philly is a team that I haven't really talked much about this year because historically, Philly hasn't really been a team that was worth talking about. Philly has no MLS Cup titles, no US Open Cup titles, no CCL. They only have one supporter shield. And when Philly lost to Chicago back in June, I heavily criticized them because if Philly, you're supposed to be the top team in the East. There is no reason why you should have not scored a goal against Chicago. And that's what I said about Philly after that loss to Chicago back in June. Ever since that loss to Chicago, I have seen a different Philly team. Philly has been more aggressive. Philly has turned into the best offensive team in the league, and they don't even have the same amount of star players as LAFC. That is why Jim Curtin should be number one candidate for Coach of the Year, followed by the head coach at Austin, and then in third place, the head coach of Montreal, Wilfred Nancy. There are some people that's trying to have a conversation on saying whether or not Philly head coach Jim Curtin, if he should be head coach for one of the big 5 Euros, and why a lot of people are not talking about him as being a big 5 Euro head coach candidate. Let's pump the brakes on that one now. This season is arguably the best season in Philadelphia Union history, if I'm not lying. If you're a Philadelphia Union fan, you can correct me in the comment section. But this season right here could go down as the best season in Philadelphia history. And when was the last time where Philly was really dominant? I'm not saying when was the last season they were good. I'm sure they had some good seasons in the past because they do have one supporter shield. But when was the last season where Philly was really looking like they were the best team in the league, where it looked like nobody can beat them? How often has that been? We already know Philly has no MLS Cup titles. They don't have any US Open Cup titles. They don't have any CCL titles. Why should Jim Curtin be a top candidate for a big 5 Euro club when he hasn't won any major championships? One thing that you MLS fans need to keep in mind is that there's levels to this. Just because you have a great MLS regular season doesn't mean you're the greatest head coach in the world. And if the big 5 Euros is supposed to be the top dog, it's supposed to be the best of the best, why will one of the big 5 Euro teams recruit Jim Curtin when he hasn't even won a championship in a league that's perceived as lower level? You know, if the big 5 Euros is the Power Fives, then that means in American terms that the MLS is Group of 5, along with La Liga and probably the Brazilian leagues. I don't know much about the Brazilian leagues, but definitely with La Liga, Canada, and probably the Netherlands and Scotland, if I'm correct. So those are the Group of 5s: MLS, Liga MX, Canada, Scotland, Netherlands. Okay, those are Group of 5. If you haven't won a championship in one of the Group of 5 leagues, why would one of the Power 5 leagues go after your coach? Now, y'all cannot compare him to Ronnie Dyla. Ronnie Dyla won an MLS Cup title. And if Ronnie Dyla would have stayed, there is no doubt in my mind with him and Tati Castellanos, NYCFC could have done a two-peat. One of the reasons why I was disappointed with Ronnie Dyla leaving the way he did, because I wanted to see if NYCFC was going to be able to win a championship for back-to-back seasons. That would have been really good to see something like that. It would have been a good story. The homeless team playing in numerous different venues, but still dominating the league at the top. I believe Ronnie Dyla's departure really accelerated Tati Castellanos' desire to leave. But I'm not going to get too much into that. Let's just pump the brakes on Jim Curtin. Let's see how he finishes this entire season. Not only regular season, let's see how he does in the playoffs. And then after the playoffs, let's see how well he does in the CONCACAF Champions League. If he performs well, if he wins the MLS Cup title, and then go on, and if he go on to have a good run in the CCL, which is not an easy thing to do. It's really not an easy thing to do. The Seattle Sounders is a team, they had to play extra games. They play like 8 extra more matches than every other MLS team because of their CCL run. So this new iteration of the CCL is not easy to win this. It's not easy to win 2 championships within one season because the CCL is a season within a season. The CCL is just as competitive as the MLS regular season. As a matter of fact, the CCL is more competitive than the MLS regular season. So let's just see how he does after this regular season, because he's gonna finish strong in this regular season. Let's see how well he does in the playoffs. Let's see if he can win the MLS Cup title. And then let's see how well he does in next year's CCL title run. And then maybe we can start having those kind of discussions about Jim Curtin being a head coach for one of the big 5 Euros or any other Euro, whether it's a team in the Netherlands or a team in Scotland. Because Jim Curtin and Philadelphia Union fans, listen to me. I know throughout this whole season, I have been talking a lot about NYCFC and Atlanta United, how they're the face of the Eastern Conference of the MLS. But let me make one thing clear. NYCFC and Atlanta, they're not on the same level as LA Galaxy and Seattle. The reason why I continue to talk about those 2 teams, NYCFC and Atlanta, is because when it comes to teams in the East, there's not many teams in the East that stands out. There's a lot of teams in the East that's just everybody's on the same level. You know, DC United, they have a few championships, or 1 or 2, but they have fallen off. Columbus has a championship, but they haven't been as dominant. So there's not a lot. There's no teams in the East that's dominant, that's on the level of Galaxy Sounders. So from the outside looking in, it looks as if Atlanta and NYCFC, those 2 teams look like they're trending upward to Galaxy Sounder status within this decade. However, they haven't proven such as of yet. We still got a long 8 to 10 more years to go before we determine who is that number 1 team in the East that's the face of the MLS in the East. So Philly, all you have to do is win an MLS Cup title, win one CCL title, win a League's Cup, and win like 1 or 2 supporter shields, and Philly, you become the face of the East within this decade. Atlanta, they've only been around for 5 years. And the reason why their run has been so impressive is because they have accomplished a lot in a short period of time. NYCFC, the reason why their run has been impressive, because look at their ownership group. I mean, they are owned by wealth. They are owned by people that create wealth. So of course they're going to be popular because who their father is. We all know who their father is. Do I have to say the name? Abu Dubai? Well, listen, Philly. This is all you have to do. And your run can start this year. You win a Supporter Shield. You win an MLS Cup title. Then next year, you either win a CCL title or you go on a good CCL run, at least make it to the semifinals, at least. You win a Leagues Cup, because the Leagues Cup, and I'm going to talk about this in the offseason, the Leagues Cup for the major MLS teams is getting ready to replace the US Open Cup as a national title. Because I did state earlier this summer that the US Open Cup represents the national title. But it looks as if the MLS is going to use the Leagues Cup as its official national title tournament. And the only MLS teams that will take place in the US Open Cup will be MLS Next and MLS Next Pro. So that's who the USL Championship teams will be going against starting next year. In next year's US Open Cup, it will be MLS Next and MLS Next Pro teams. Well, I'm going to talk more about that in the offseason. So Philly, Jim Curtin, you got an important match against Atlanta. Philly, you got to play this game with pride. Pride is on the line in this game. It doesn't matter that Atlanta United is at the bottom of the conference. This is a team that has been the face of the Eastern Conference for at least the past 5 seasons before NYCFC have risen. So now you have already handled business against NYCFC. You did a good job against NYCFC this year. And you basically let NYCFC know that there's a new sheriff in town. You got to do the same thing to Atlanta. You got to send that same message to Atlanta this Wednesday. The same high-level, aggressive intensity that you played against NYCFC, you got to bring it to Atlanta. NYCFC is not your only rival, Philly. Atlanta is your other rival too, because those two teams are your competitors. You're battling for the mountaintop. Look, when it comes to being the face of the Eastern Conference, those two teams are standing in your way, Philadelphia. And those two teams will continue to stand in your way, at least for the rest of this decade. Now, of course, you still got to look out for Miami, Nashville, Columbus, Toronto, maybe New England. But the two major teams that you definitely got to send the message to, NYCFC, and you have already done that this season. Now you have to do the same thing to Atlanta. Atlanta, they're clinging on for playoff life. Atlanta, they're on life support. The Atlanta United team is on life support in order to make this 2022 MLS Cup playoffs. And your job this Wednesday, Philly, is to pull the plug. You're going to end their season. You're going to end their life this Wednesday. Now, when I say pull the plug, I'm figuratively speaking, because I'm saying they're on life support. Their playoff hope is on life support. So Philly, your job is to pull the plug. End their season this week, week 28. Because you have to send a message to them that you may be the king of the South, but you're definitely not the king of the East. So Philly, I know this is a short week, and usually weeks like this, you need something to motivate you. Let that be your motivation. A team that's the king of the South, and it's a team that still believes that they're the best team in the East and that they don't have real competition. The only reason why they're having a bad season this year is because of injuries. Oh no, Philly. You have to let them know that just because you're the king of the South doesn't mean you're the king of the East. And there's a new sheriff in town. We're going to eliminate you from playoff contention this year, and we're going to do it again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. So let that be your motivation in this short week, in week 28. We are ending your playoff hopes this week. And this game right here is your coming out party, Philly. Because we see you at the top. We see you scoring a lot of goals. But for some reason, a lot of us, including myself, we still don't take you serious yet. You take down a giant in Atlanta in dominant fashion. This game right here, this is when you put the nation on notice. This game right here is when you let us know, Philly, who you truly are and what you're truly about. You gotta let them know you may be the king of the South, but we're the beast of the East.
The battle was attrition, kept running hard like a cheetah on pursuit. The way I play made others look the loop, so I stand tall. I gave my all and I have no regrets. The battle was attrition, kept running hard like a cheetah on pursuit.